Good evening, viewers, and thank you once again for joining us here on A Pillar of the Community. In today's program, we're happy to have an accountant. He's a chartered accountant and a business consultant. His name is Syed Irfan, and I would like to welcome him to the program. Welcome, Syed.
Hi, Reead. How are you?
All right. How are you doing today with all the snow?
Uh, I'm fine, thank you. We had the snow cleared up yesterday,
Oh,
so yeah, it's not bad. It's very cold though.
yeah, exactly. So, Syed, business consultant, chartered accountant, left in England and came to Canada. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up here.
Yeah, so I arrived in England in 1980 from Pakistan, and was in all my education was done there. So I am an electronic engineer, became a chartered accountant, and came here in 2014. I've lived in all the continents. So North America was the last continent. So we thought, is it US or Canada? So we said, no, we'll go to Canada. Apparently, Canada is very, very good. So I heard. So I came here in 14 with my wife and three kids and jumped into a full-time MBA, my lifelong ambition, and made some
Wow.
really. And here we are, 7 years later.
Wow. Yeah. So, why Canada? I know you thought about North America, right? I mean, you went to Pakistan, you went to England. How did you choose why Canada between the US and Canada?
So, we all know US is the biggest economy in the world. Well,
Yeah.
China is taking over shortly, but that's how it is. I think politically, and especially their gun culture was a bit frightening coming from England. So we thought, and we came to Canada in 2001 for a holiday, and I fell in love with Canada. But
Wow.
unfortunately, we only came in summer.
You didn't see winter.
No, we didn't see winter. And but it's been good so far. And the main reason of not going to the US was the gun, really, nothing
Right.
else.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, to tell you the truth, sometimes, at least for us, you notice a distinct difference if one minute you drive across the border between Canada and the US. It's a complete different environment that it is. So, but anyway, we're glad to have you in Canada for all the
Thank you.
contributions and good work that you're doing here in Canada. And certainly was a pleasure being introduced to you. So tell me. I mean, you're a chartered accountant. Well, first you were an engineer, then
Mhm.
you became a chartered accountant. Now, and well, of course, now you've branched off into doing business consultancy, and along other lines, you have all these other nice side projects that I want to get into in a while. But so tell me a little bit about. I know you started when you came here. You started a business, and then you worked for quite hard in this business, and then you ended up selling it. So tell us
Yeah,
a little bit about that.
yeah. So that didn't start here really. Back in 2008, when I was working in Africa and Nigeria, that's where I started my. So even before that, my brothers are all in business. I'm the only one who hasn't got a full-time business, right? So I've been helping them in all sorts of way. And in
Right.
2008, I was working in Africa. I started my own business, importing, exporting. What do you call them? Generators, because a huge
Okay.
demand in Africa,
Mhm.
and it went quite well. And then, I was working full time. I didn't do things the way it should be done. Didn't keep records, didn't document things, and within 2.5 years, went from being very good to very bad, and we lost money. I
Is that
lost
right?
money.
Is that when you decided to become a chartered accountant?
No, I was chartered account back in the 90s. So I left electronics in 1987 and actually became an accountant in the early 90s. Really.
Okay.
So I'm much older than you think I am. And so the 2008 experience between 2008 and 10, it wasn't very good. And then in 2012, I have a friend and also a brother who have online websites,
Okay.
selling business
Right.
products. And they asked me if I can advise them. I said, sure. So I started reading like crazy and ended up doing, again, working full time, but I started a company for digital marketing
Okay.
between 2012 and 2014, August, before I came here. So I self-taught myself and ended up with quite a good income actually on the part-time basis.
Well,
And then I decided to come to Canada, sold my business. And when I came here, as I said earlier, I jumped into an MBA,
right.
and I met a very nice guy, Nadir Ibrahim, who's from Sudan. He's the
Okay.
head of technology, or was in CIBC.
Okay.
And him and I decided, let's go and start a company. So it was in financial technology. We started a
Right.
company. I didn't know anything about financial technology
Okay.
then, and I still know very little because it's changing very, very fast.
Right.
So, cut a long story short, we started the company back on 2016, 17, and then worked. So, when you have a small business, right? So, you are the janitor and the CEO and everything in between,
Exactly.
right? So, I was the CFO and janitor and everything in between. I did sales, I did marketing, I was hiring people and trying to understand what Nadir was doing technically. So it was quite interesting, right? It was very, very hard work, as everybody or anybody who's done a small, started the business is not
Right.
easy. But we got very lucky. We got a couple of lucky breaks, and I left in September last year,
Okay.
having decided I want to do something else. So I've been very fortunate with having a partner like Nadir, and then obviously opportunities we got working together,
Right.
and
I
that.
want to focus a little bit about this since you're a business. So this program airs on Caribbean Showtime TV, and it deals a lot of people from the Caribbean and even here in Canada. What I want to find out is in starting a business, when you went about to start a business, one of the biggest hurdles with starting a business is capital. How did you guys overcome that hurdle?
So let me just say this: if you are passionate about something, right, it will exude through yourself. So just start. Don't wait for everything to fall into place, because it never will. Capital, you can speak to your friends and family. We had some capital ourselves, and then we got some funding from some friends, and then we did go out to the market after about 18 months bootstrapping, really. So we didn't pay ourselves for 18 months, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so we, because we were toying around which product and how to create that, and it iterated many times before we finally got to the main product. So the simple way of answering this, you know learn to do with minimal. The good, as they say, sorry, perfection is the enemy of good. If you're good enough with your knowledge base and you have a very good idea, you go out there and get over that fear, speak to people. You'd be surprised how many people will be willing to help you. I think part of that came through networking, helping in the MBA class. But nowadays you can approach people on LinkedIn directly or through an introduction. So capital was not a big issue, but it became a bigger issue as we went along because of the product
Right.
development costs.
Okay.
But my advice to anybody who wants to start a business: just start. Things will happen as long as because if you try to cover everything, it
Right.
never happens.
Oh, good. So in starting a business, so as in terms of some advice out there to our viewers, when you're going to start a business, what would you say is step number one? First step.
Oh, that's a very good question. Understand your market. What is it
Okay.
you're trying to do? Who
Right.
you're trying to sell? How many people you want to sell? You don't want to go out there and say, I want 10,000 clients. You don't really. You can't manage that. You
Right.
know. First and foremost, understand. And if you can get a mentor, or if you're already experienced, great. But nonetheless, get a mentor. So I have a very broad experience. I've worked in 14 industries over the last 35 years, right? 33 years
Right.
before I jumped into this. So,
Wow.
and as I said to you earlier, I didn't know about technology. So that my weakness was covered by my partner.
Right.
But I did everything else with him. And of course, he's very well aware how to do other things, but he said, you do it. So
Right.
the biggest thing is understand what you're doing. And that's, I'll give you stats. 20% of a startup fails in the first year, 30%
Right.
in the second, and 50 in the fifth year. There's
Wow.
only two reasons. And you can go and check Google. Two
Yeah.
reasons: one, not understanding the market; B, not having enough capital.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's about cash flow management.
Right.
Because,
So, yeah. Go
sorry,
ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
There's a craze, and I don't know how. And we've seen some spectacular failure, about office work and all that. This big company, you can't just keep selling and not making profit. You can. It's not sustainable model,
Right.
really.
Right.
So the idea is to go out there and start something, get people around you, good people who know, they can cover your weaknesses. So if you don't know marketing, get somebody who understand marketing. You don't know
Right.
finance, get somebody. You don't have to get them on full-time basis. Even see them once a month, a couple of hours and all that. you need to cover certain basics: understanding market, understanding finance. Those are the two most important things, because that is the main two main reasons of failure.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that about understanding your market. For many people out there who is trying to start a business, what I've found is that you speak to people and they tell you these things. They tell you, okay, go do your research, do this, do your market research, see, understand, just as you're saying this. But in terms of actually, how do you go about doing it? What are the specifics? Do you have any advice as to what you do to understand your market? Or should you just go research it in Google? Or should you, well, I guess one of the things you said is hire an expert who can help you with that. So that definitely is one way.
Yeah, so it's a multi-pronged approach. So you starting a business in something, so you have some experience, some idea. That's one. Validate that. How big is the market? So you can do Google. Obviously, Google can tell you everything if you want to, but there's a lot of time involved researching in there from right resource, right references.
Right.
But speak to somebody who is in that business, whether through your network or through LinkedIn. Approach them. So you can't, you don't want to have analysis paralysis. Don't spend a number of years researching. If you have a good idea, and if you can validate maybe 2 or 3 assumptions that you have in terms of the market and the margins and financing, you just go. Go and do it. Believe me, it is a lot easier to start a business than it sounds like, but it's bloody hard work.
Right. And I guess that's exactly the hard work. And I think, there's a piece of advice that was given to me early in my career. And it was like, look, the longest journey starts with the first step, right? So
Absolutely.
you've got to take that first step to get that, to that journey, that long journey. And as you said, it's a lot of hard work as well. I know you mentioned to me previously that you actually you were spent nights at one particular client in their office learning their software so
Yeah.
that you could be able to assist them. Now, one thing you mentioned, mentoring. You mentioned about
Yes.
mentoring. Tell me, because I know you're a mentor as well, right? So tell me about mentoring and your whole, how do you go about doing that? And, who do you
So
mentor? Yeah.
So currently, I have about I did have 17, but I just didn't have enough time, so I've cut it down to 12 people I mentor. They
12
range between,
people.
yeah.
Now,
So
what
it's
age
an
group are these people? Are these young people, middle age, older
yeah. So
people?
the youngest is 21, the oldest is 51.
Oh, wow.
They come from various backgrounds, professional and cultural and
Right.
otherwise, really. And so there are 3 aspects. So let me tell you how I started. My youngest brother, and myself have almost 14 years of gap, right?
The 14, you said, eh?
Yeah, 1-4. So there
Wow.
was a natural mentoring happening without me realizing. I was telling him which course to take and how to do this, how to start a
Right.
business and all that. And then he said, "Oh, I have a friend. This is going back into early 2000. Could you speak to him about this, that, and the other?" And it just sort of grew. And one thing led to another. I have who's a friend now. I've been coaching him for about 20 years, since 2001, about various aspects, about how about getting yourself certified or education, what type of jobs, how to start a business, and some personal matters, obviously, which I can't disclose. So I love mentoring because I learn a lot, because no man is an island. So those 12, 13 people really helped me to understand various perspective on the same topic. It's really interesting to hear a 23-year-old and a 40-year-old and 50-year-old talking about the same topic from a very different perspective. So to me, it's a journey. I'm constantly learning. And one of the things I advocate to whenever somebody comes up with saying, how do I solve this? Go back, get a blank piece of paper and write down what are the things that you can do. Forget anybody else. What can you do? And then we work from there. So
Amazing.
mentoring is interesting.
So what exactly do you mentor them on? Like finance, life in general, about success, becoming, a successful person, taking you to achieve from one spot to achieving your goals? Is that what the mentoring is about?
Let me just tell you in the shortest possible way: attitude.
Attitude.
Uh, yes, it's
Okay.
all about your attitude, because no world doesn't owe you a living, right? So
Right.
if you have the attitude to go and do things without thinking that you've been hard done by, or you don't have this, you don't have this, as I said to you earlier, you will never have everything. right? So have this positive go-getting attitude, and it actually is a lot of hard work with some people. A lot of people are almost there. You push them, and so it's all it's mental attitude mentoring really, and it is very surprising. Certainly above goes on to someone's head. Oh, okay, I can do that, and they had that capability all the time. And so that attitude then it translates itself into various aspects. So as you said, from how to start a business, how to improve cash flow, how to go for interview, and then obviously some personal issues. I'm married for 31 years with 3 grown-up kids, so I can say I have some life experience. Not a lot, but some.
Not a lot. No, 31 years, right? Not a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I think it's all in our head, really. Long time ago, maybe 25 years ago, I read Confucius, a Chinese sage who existed almost 6,000 years ago now. And he said, everything is possible if you have the right attitude,
right.
and it's all come down to having that attitude and learning and understanding. There's a lot of learning, right?
Yes.
So I emphasize on reading.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing you're talking about in attitude, and I'll tell you in terms of my perspective throughout my career, and in terms of when you come to hiring people to work for you, right? In my whole philosophy on that is, yes, you're looking for somebody with some level of education, but what matters more to me to hire a person is that they have the right attitude for the job, because
Absolutely.
you can get somebody who's highly qualified and they don't have the attitude to get something done. They don't have that can do, or that willingness to get something done, and then they have all the qualifications, but the job in my mind doesn't get properly done, compared to somebody who may have less of a qualification, but they have that attitude that, okay, I need to get this done. Let me see how it is. And they research it and they speak to people and they go about trying to find out how to get it done, and they get it done. To me, that is more. And that it comes down to exactly what you're saying, right? Which is the attitude. And, that is certainly a big thing.
Absolutely. And nowadays, if you go back to, I don't know how old you are, so like 30 years ago, I remember there was no Google. Google is only 23 years old, right? 1997. Uh, and so compared to now, compared to then, now there's a let's say there's a lot more opportunities to do things if you wanted to and have the right attitude, because you can find all the information you want from multitude of sources, which are predominantly free, and then validate them through somebody who has been in that field or some expert or what have you. But there is simply most of the failures happen in our head. We fail before we actually fail, if that makes sense.
We fail before we actually fail.
Yeah, so we fail in our thought process, that if
Right.
you convince yourself you can't do it, of course you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But if you're convinced you can do it and you can learn, you'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
For
what I
sure.
mean. We
Yeah.
fail before we actually fail.
Yeah.
So it all happens in here.
Even before you start, take that first step.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. That is, that is a very, very big part, at least at least in my mind, when you're hiring people or you is. One other thing that I think, when it comes to, even when you're starting your business or whatever you're doing, is surround yourself with people who have the skills you don't have. But of course, the first step to that is you need to recognize what skills you're missing. Right.
Yeah, the quote Steve Jobs. He said, "Hire the expert and don't get in their way." Really, that's what Steve Jobs said, and he was absolutely right. So I know my weaknesses. So I don't pretend to know everything because I can't. And since I know my weaknesses, I'll try to get the right people who can manage my weaknesses in the business context. Really,
Yeah, exactly,
uh,
exactly. And that's good. So you do mentoring, right?
yeah.
You started a business which was successfully done and then you got out of it. Um, Tell me a little bit now about, I know you were involved as the project guy behind Masjid Ibrahim to help them raise funds back in December and even in the beginning of January. Tell us a little bit about that Masjid Ibrahim project.
Yeah, so I got to know about Masjid Ibrahim through a mutual friend, Umar, and he introduced me to them 18th of November last year. and they dried up funding. There was no funding. The building has stopped in August, and it's the biggest mosque in Canada, right?
Right.
And then I live in Oakville. They are in Brampton, 45 minutes away. I didn't even know about that. So
Right.
there was the few issues that I had to tackle is create awareness and create an event with the help of Umar. Get some people, great speakers like Imam Siraj Wahad, for example, and get some donations.
Right.
So I started doing it on 28th of November. I had to do a presentation how and what and where I'm going to do that. The board approved. And within 4 weeks, of 28th of November to 25th of December, that was the event was. Within less than 4 weeks, we have put together an event which about 220 people came, and we raised about $300,000. It was hard work. It
Right.
was 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, but I
Wow.
loved it. It was a lot
Wow.
of fun, you know, because I've done that in UK when I was in London, but at a
Right.
different scale. But
Right.
this was, meeting new people. So getting involved, fundraising is there are a lot of moving pieces. So it's not just having a hall and putting some lights and camera. You got to convince people to come over, sell tickets, get online, do video, and do promotion, send emails, go and meet people. And all of those things were happening in those 4 weeks. So Alhamdulillah, I'm grateful to the Almighty that we got some good results. But it wasn't just me. There was a lot of people involved. Everybody
Right.
did a lot of work. So
Right.
Umar being one who got all the main speakers. So I'm still continuing, albeit at a not at full time now, because
Right.
I have other things to do as well. But I'm engaged. I'm developing their marketing strategy. I have developed it. Now we're implementing it, for example. And there are many other things we are doing. It's getting donations from any purpose, and particularly mosque nowadays is difficult because of COVID-19. There's a lot of uncertainty. People are not sure.
Yes. Yes.
And
And even fundraising events, bringing out people to a dinner or some event, it's a little bit, you don't get the participation because of the COVID.
yeah, but fortunately, the Brampton community and Mississauga community, they came together, and and they attended it with 220 people. So that was nice. So that's what
Mhm.
I was doing. I'm still engaged with them, as I said. But what will follow is, I've been consulting since 2000 with my family and my friends and my brothers and all that.
Right.
And then since 2007, I've been consulting as a paid consultant,
Okay.
and now and yet working full time as a CFO and CEO in various companies. And I think, inshallah, you'll see I'm going full time in small business advisory services
Wow.
to advise the small business, because of those 33 years, 27 years of my life have been spent in small businesses across the
Wow.
world.
Wow. So I want to come back to that small business consultancy, but before we get there, Masjid Ibrahim, how much money have they raised so far, and how much more they need to finish the project?
So that's a good question. As I said, it's the biggest mosque in Canada, five
Right.
stories.
Right.
We raised over 5 million, and we used all of that. We need another 7 million to finish the project.
Wow.
So the cost has risen because the project started in 2008, before I was in Canada,
Right.
and it took them 7 years to give the permission to the mosque. So that prices have gone up, obviously, and then
Yes.
COVID-19
Right.
happened.
Right. So
So
yeah. Wow.
the total cost is now at 12 million, of which 5 million has been raised and spent, and
All
now
right.
we try to raise but immediately we need, if we can get to 1 million. So we raised 300,000. We need another 700, so we can restart building in this coming March, April, weather permitting.
I see, I see. So what I'll do right now is I will show there's a video on Masjid Ibrahim. I will show that right now so that our viewers out there can get an
Excellent idea.
idea of what the project is involved, and maybe feel free to visit their website. Is it masjidibrahim.ca is the website?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, they visit and you can help donate to help with this particular. So I'll show the video now.
Imagine praying in a masjid with several thousands of Muslims in one single place, right here in our city. Imagine a masjid where our future generations will flourish, our greatest minds will thrive, and our seniors will age with grace. A place where the Adhan will echo the halls. A place where the Quran will be recited in abundance. Imagine the largest masjid ever built in Canada. By the grace of Allah, that's exactly what we're doing. The number of Canadian Muslims will reach 2.7 million by 2030. And as our masajid feels smaller every day, alhamdulillah, this largest masjid will be able to accommodate thousands of Muslims in a single salah, inshallah. It'll be a place where people find peace, where knowledge is shared, where families celebrate happiness, and where we become stronger. Today, let's turn this into reality. Together, we will make this dream come true and build the largest masjid in Canada, inshallah.
So that, viewers, was the video of Masjid Ibrahim. Visit their website, masjidibrahim.ca, and please contribute and help them as much as possible. So Syed, I want to get back now to the business consultancy, the project that you're about to embark upon. Tell us a little bit about that.
So currently I'm consulting with about 6 clients based in UK, US, and here in Canada, all through 6 very different industries, from food, animal food production to logistic and social services and all those. As I said, I've been working for 33 years really across the world, and in between I also had 3 businesses, and some not so successful, some reasonably successful. So I've decided I'm not going to work for anybody. It's very enjoyable, but I think COVID-19 has changed a lot of things. You can be very productive being at home.
Yes,
really.
Yes.
That's what I learned. I'm sure you've done the same thing. In fact, we've been overproductive, I would say.
Yes. I agree with you.
Yeah, because there was no support structure around you in the beginning of the COVID, right?
Right.
And suddenly you have to do everything yourself.
Yeah. And not only that, working from home, you find that it's easier. You don't have to get up and commute. You get up and you're at the computer, you start working, and then you're doing something, you get up, you have a break, you come back, and then you find yourself 8, 9 o'clock at night still working because you're just from here to your bedroom. So it can be a lot more productive. I think it's a big plus, actually, to tell you the truth.
Yes. So, and so I thought, okay, if I'm doing this, and then I was working within lean payments, and I left in September. And then some people said, can you help us with this? Can you help us with this? I said, sure. I'm very passionate about helping people, especially business people, because I wrote an article on LinkedIn, I think 2020. One of the problems the small business people have is they don't have a lot of help around them, because everybody thinks because they are businessmen, they know everything. Unfortunately, nobody knows everything, really. And as I said earlier in our conversation, really the 2 major point of failures are understanding the market. So understanding the market, let me broaden it up a little bit. What does it mean? It's not that, let's say you want to go and sell shoes or animal feed or clothes. Of course, you will do research, you understand the market, or hopefully you would understand the market before you jump in. But there are certain nuances. When you understand the market, do you understand the margin? Do you know how to market? Do you know who to market? And how do you segment your products if you have more than one product? Do you understand how much margin you're making? All your product profitable, or are you taking the average? Right? Because average hides a lot of faults.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because the poor performing ones make up for the higher performing ones make up for the poor performing ones. Whereas if you get rid of the poor performing ones and you concentrate on them, you could do better, right? So
so there's one aspect. So I can dig down to. I did a project for a company which sells animal feed, and they had something like 27 or 29 products, of which 4 were not making money. So all I did, I took each product and I analyzed the last 3 years data. Right. And I said, why are you selling those 4 products? So So what that did, and of course, it needed, this is a summary of the conversation, but what it did, it immediately reduced the inventory, therefore improved the cash flow, therefore improved the margin, therefore rotation of inventory increase. So just from advising them not to sell particular products.
Products. Yeah,
And then
exactly.
the finance bit, really, the cash flow is the oxygen of a small business. And I've developed a methodology where your cash flow can improve in three months or less. And it's a very simple method, but obviously I need to analyze. Different industries have different way of working. So that's where I'm going, inshallah, God willing, really, because that's my passion. I really enjoy understanding and doing things for a small
Right.
business, helping.
Wow, that's good. That is really interesting. So if there's any small business, medium-sized business out there that looking for some help, to improve your cash flow or to improve even just your whole operations, please feel to reach out to Syed. Syed, do you have a website or somewhere how they can reach you?
So my LinkedIn is Syed M for Mother Irfan, Irfan. I'll type. Can I type it here?
It's okay. I'll put it up.
Okay.
I'll put it on the screen.
It's Syed M Irfan on LinkedIn. My website should be coming shortly. I'm actually working on it.
Okay, good. So that's fantastic, Syed. So I really appreciate you taking the time joining us in today's program. You surely had a lot of information to share with us and concerning any business running and problems that you might have, and we certainly appreciate you taking that time to share this with us and the viewers out there. So
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. So, my dear viewers, thank you very much for viewing our program today. That was Brother Syed Irfan. He's a chartered accountant and a business consultant, and he's starting up his consultancy practice right now. So feel free to feel free to reach out to him. I'll post up his LinkedIn information on the screen so that you can feel free to reach out to him. So with that, take care, and we'll catch you on the next one.